Hey, welcome to Mary Walter Radio. Yeah, still the sunglasses. I was kind of hoping I get rid of them by today, but no, this one's still, the one where it was before. See, still black. Looking much better though. So hopefully by Tuesday, gone with that. And I have like a little bruise here, but other than that, we're good. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. James will be joining us. He said he was going to be late, and he is. He is indeed late, but he will hopefully be joining us. So before he gets here, there's some housekeeping that I want to do. Thank you, of course, obviously, as I said, for joining us. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. Really appreciate you for doing that. If you do that on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, you leave comments, they will come up on the screen. I'll put them up. And if you're watching on Getter, Scott's already there and he's like, hey, how you doing? Hi there, world. Leave those comments and I will read them. After the show, you can download the audio on I always say YouTube and Getter. No, you can download the audio on Spotify or Apple. And you can just listen to the podcast. And please tell your friends, appreciate you doing that. So as you know, if you watch both of these, a lot of people do participate in both podcasts, which I love you for. Um, we're going to combine them into one. I decided to mash them up instead of doing non-political on Tuesdays and politicals on Thursdays. I decided, you know what, let's just do one show. Let's just do one podcast and talk about whatever we want, right? Like, why does it have to be separated? Like it's a radio show, and a radio, you can only talk about sports, you can only talk about politics, or you can only do lifestyle or whatever. So we are going to mash them up. Hello, James.
Hello.
Welcome. I told everyone you would be here, and sure enough, you were not that late. I'm impressed.
Thanks. I was not that late.
You were not, and you did not get a ticket, right?
Nope, no ticket. I drove very slow, and I have to do, I think I said this a couple weeks ago, there's a bridge out that's the main artery to get where I have to go. Every other way means you got to go completely around the town one way or another, so it's very psychotic. Yeah. So well, I acted like the people I work for and drove nice and slow.
With your left blinker on.
Oh, yeah, the whole time. Yeah.
Well, with all the rain we've had, everything, our whole town, what was it this past weekend? What we got that crazy rain, like a rain for like we were talking about it on Tuesday, so it was over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And every road in our town was shut except for the main road, our road. Every road was closed. Everything was flooded. Everything was closed. So, but anyway, so I was just telling everybody we're moving to Tuesday. We're only doing one podcast a week. The show we're mashing them up. We're going to use the graphics, the colors from Life with Mary Walter, but we're keeping the name Mary Walter Radio. For obvious reasons, it's just easier. And I also use that like when I'm on Newsmax, they'll say host of Mary Walter Radio. It's easier for people to find. So that's what we're going to do. And working on it. I still need a tagline. Pete, our friend Pete, came up with one, and I think it was people, politics, and places, or people, places, and politics, something along those lines. Which I like the alliteration.
I like people, politics. It could be places, maybe another P word, but I like people, politics.
And yeah. How about we'll talk about whatever I want?
I like that.
It's my show, damn it.
Yeah, I like that.
So, thank you to EB, who has been churning out the graphics. I mean, he is crazy, man, doing a great job. I adore him for that. So, EB, thank you. And his amazing son, Josh, who he watches all of our podcasts over and over. Zach does. Josh, what did I say? Josh? His son's name is Zach. Where did I get Josh from? Zach.
We're both in that state today. Yeah.
I'm tired. Zach. And Zach's amazing. And his favorite one, believe it or not, is Sean Spicer.
Nice.
He loves to watch the Sean Spicer podcast over and over and over and over. So I'm my job this week is like to line up guests for Tuesdays. And it's going to be a lot easier with just one podcast to just, trying to figure out who belongs where or this or that or anything. So we're just going to keep it as one. Your assignment, James, we need music.
I'm already working on a new opening.
Because everybody loves the 3 Noodle Stew stuff. So that would be great if you could do that.
I can.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's a funny thing too. I was just talking to somebody about this. I do some production for other podcasts, and they'll ask, or a new client, they'll ask me to put together an opening. And I always say, like, I can't bill for creative time. So there's plenty of times where, like, they'll say I need it in a week, and I don't have it till like the last day, because everything I'll try a million things that I never would have charged anybody for to get to the like thing I want to do, and then I can charge for that.
Right.
I love that, just like throwing things, and I listen back and I go, nah, dump it, start over, you know.
Well, like
things I really care about, you know.
Well, EB does the graphics. He says, I said,
So
well,
good.
I want to pay you. I want to do this. And of course he says no. So I just get his son Zach gifts instead.
I like it.
But he says it relaxes him, like on a weekend. He also does it and gets paid for it, as he should. But he says, no, it's very calming for him. He said he likes to just zen. I said, all right, good for you.
Yeah.
Scott has created a hashtag lickety split, but it's luckety split. I'm not quite sure what that has to do with anything, but okay, thank you.
I was gonna say too, real fast. You know, in theory, we've probably crossed the line on both shows into the other show at some point. I'm sure, like Mary Walter, we've jumped into politics on that, and then Mary Walter Radio, we've jumped over to life stuff just by default.
Of course.
Merging makes so much sense.
I'm gonna move this. It's a little. There we go. My husband was doing a Zoom call, so it's always. So let's see. Bill, hi, Queen Mary. Hoping to see your pretty eyes tonight. Thank you, sweetie. No.
But no.
Had the guys here today doing some work on the heating system, and I had to say to them, okay, my husband did not punch me, okay? I'm afraid they're going to call, call DHS or the police or something.
Oh, hit the door, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, one time, it's really funny. One time, years and years and years ago, it was before I knew you, we had taken my niece ice skating. She was 4 years old at the time. We went to the Armory in Red Bank, and they have those, like, it's like an inverted V, and it's metal, and it slides on the ice. So when someone's learning how to ice skate, they hold onto this, and they learn how to, like, slide their feet as opposed to just walking on the ice.
Sure.
So a lot of the kids have them, and you'll see they have bigger ones for adults. So she was doing that, and I grew up ice skating on a pond in the woods behind my parents' house, so I can skate backwards. I am no, Dorothy Hamill, or use a more no Nancy Kerrigan, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty good. So I turned around, I'm skating behind her, taking a picture of her with my husband. Oh, look at she's skating. Da, da, da. I go to come back. She zigs. She loses her balance. She zigs. I fall. Broke, and broke. 2 wrists and an elbow in one shot, right?
Ooh. Oh, that's
shockingly
miserable.
Easy too. Like, it was like, oh.
Yeah.
And it didn't swell up for quite some time. My husband's like, "You're fine." I'm like, "No. I heard it break. I heard the breaking. I heard it." He's like, "No, just go sit down. You'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay." And then he's taking her around. I'm like, "We need to go to the hospital now." So off we go. And where was I going with this story about? So here I am, and I'm in a cast on my right hand from here to here and here to here on my left arm. Right now,
ouch.
The cat tripped me at one point anyway, and I wound up with a black eye because I fell coming downstairs, because I'm trying to be super careful coming down the stairs because I can't steady myself with anything because I can't grip anything, right?
Right.
So I fell and I wound up, I forget, I like poked myself, I hit myself in the face with something that I was whatever. And I got a black eye. So now here I am in church with a black eye and 2 arms in casts. And our priest at the time, who's hilarious, and there's always a cop in front of the church, directing traffic. He goes out front to talk to the cop. He goes, and we're coming out, and he points us out to the cop. He goes, "Them right there. You should arrest him."
Oh, that's good.
So yeah. So I made sure to tell them that no, my husband is not beating me. So that's good. So we have a lot to get to, and I know a lot of it you're going to want to comment on. We have 4. I narrowed it down to 3 stories, but there's 3 really, really good stories that I want to talk about. All right. So I don't know have you seen the stories that have come out about these they're finding children working in these plants, right, in these companies. Now, one of the stories that came out were these children, these little kids who were child labor, and I think it was like a Purdue plant, right, or a Tyson plant or whatever. Turns out it was take your kid to work day, and the kids
Oh,
wanted to go with dad, and dad works the overnight shift, so mom dropped the kids off with him, and someone reported them as engaging in illegal child labor, and he's like, no, they wanted to see what I do for work, so they came to like, and he's like a grunt, and they came to work with him, but they wanted to see what daddy does. So
I thought this story was going somewhere else completely different. This is awesome.
well,
I'm
of course the
do-gooder.
media, of course, Twitter, erupts with, oh my God, child labor, big corporations exploiting these kids, blah, 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 blah. And it turns out, yeah, no, it was take your kid to work day. Um, that's exactly what he did. And I got into it with someone on Twitter because these are the same people who tell me that, well, if a child wants to cut off a body part or take, puberty blocking drugs and their parents agree with it, it should be up to the parents. It's perfectly okay. Well, I'm like, well, then if daddy wants to take the 10-year-old to a chicken plant, processing plant to work and the kid wants to, then it should be okay, right? And then they block me. And then they get mad and they block me. I'm like, oh, so it only works if you want to cut off body parts, but not if you want to go to work? Weird.
Yeah.
So, but apparently there are, the Biden administration lost an estimated 85,000 unaccompanied minors. Lost them. Don't know where they are.
Just not available.
Yeah, but know where they are. Now, it's bad when the New York Times is writing about this.
Yeah.
And the New York Times is questioning, okay, where the hell are these kids? Now, the Trump administration held the families together in detention, remember? And these unaccompanied minors that came across, because people are sending their kids with coyotes or what to come over here. And then the kids are supposed to be delivered, courtesy of the US taxpayers, to a family member who may also be in the country illegally, but we just deliver more illegals to them. Or to a quote unquote guardian. No clue who these guardians are. So the Trump administration was trying to vet these people. So the kids were becoming backlogged in these detention centers where they were going to school and they had food and they had this and that and everything else. But the left screamed that the Trump administration was jailing children. So the Biden administration undid everything the Trump administration did. So the Biden administration now is processing these kids out too sweet. And they seem to have lost 85,000 of them.
So they know they sent them somewhere, but no record of where. Or
yeah, there seems to be a lot of missing pieces, according to the New York Times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now 76 Republicans have sent a letter to Alejandro Mayorkas, who's Homeland Security Secretary, and Health and Human Services, HHS Secretary Javier Becerra, and they want some detailed answers because of this report that's come out in the New York Times that HHS has been unable to contact 85,000 child migrants, and that the surge in child migrants at the border has coincided with a quote explosive growth in child labor in the U.S. So basically, if you distill the story down, New York Times is equating like, well, all these kids are coming across with no parents because they know that the U.S. government's going to send them wherever they want them to go. And don't worry, they'll take care of them. But what they're finding out is that shockingly, some of the people to whom these children are being delivered are cartel members who are then farming them out for sex or farming them out as child labor. And work, and they're working, and they're exploiting them to pay off the debt that the parents incurred by sending the kids.
Right.
Now, of course, that's not going to get any play in the media because it's not Donald Trump. 85,000 kids. Oh, well, our bad. Sorry. That's going to be the ho-hum of it all.
What about the children? Isn't that the common thing here? Like, what about the children?
Where's AOC like this at the fence? AOC, remember AOC at the fence? Oh, remember her? I don't see AOC posing at the fence, crumpled over in pain and holding her head because of the children that are behind the barbed wire. I don't see that. Where's AOC on this one?
I've actually never heard of this story. I didn't hear the New York Times story. I'm shocked I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear any of that.
This is why I'm telling you about it.
I mean, I didn't know the borders weren't a mess. I'm just saying.
Right.
I hadn't heard that. Funny, I hadn't heard that story at all. And I
so customs, well, I heard it on Fox and Newsmax. Customs and Border Protection, their statistics show the number of unaccompanied minors has surged from 33,239 in the fiscal year 2020 to more than 146,000 in 2021 and 152,000 in 22, a 400% increase since fiscal year 2020. I'm not quite sure why this is okay with anybody. Like, why is this okay?
It shouldn't be. You know, we've talked about this a bunch. How funny it is how all politicians have no concept that they've been recorded saying things for tons and tons of time. There's plenty of years where liberals were very concerned with border security and who was coming in our country. You don't have to go back far. It's not like you have to go back 50 years. Go back 5 years. Go back 8 years during the Obama, tenure. You'll hear plenty of times where the talk was more border security and, tightening up the system.
Oh, yeah.
Back to Bill Clinton's on record saying, I mean, it's not a thing we should be. We might have different on what we should do. I didn't think we needed an 8,000-mile wall, but I certainly think we needed some form of border protection and event people coming through. It's just what we should do.
Joe Biden was on record saying it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, maybe he evolved.
Right. He evolved.
Hey, look, the libertarian position is very much like, hey, you got these people here, make them citizens, make them pay taxes, or put them in the military, make them serve the country. But I mean, that's, still
the problem is,
but still with the caveat of knowing who's coming through, right?
The problem is here. But the problem is there's such low skilled workers who will never learn English that they're never going to pay taxes because they're all at such a low end that they will actually probably get money back from taxes they didn't pay. Like, that's how skewed our system is that if you're at the real far end, you actually get you get money back. You get a refund for money you didn't even pay. You make money when other people pay taxes. So these people will probably wind up getting paid because they're such low skilled workers.
We need to get the
we
flat
don't
tax
need
people
more
on.
Of that. We don't need more of that.
Oh, well, you missed the other half. What have I said for a million years? American Foreign Legion. Put all these people in the military, train them. And then when you got a problem in Syria, guess who you send? The American Foreign Legion. That's right.
Yeah, but what about all the kids? What about all the single moms who are all coming over across the border with no way, and all the old people who are coming because they're going to get Social Security and Medicare right away without ever paying a dime in, and then they're going to look at you and me and go, really sorry you paid your whole life in, but we're paying them. We gave them your money. Sorry. It's exactly what's going to happen. Okay. So after child migrants are encountered at the southern border, they're transferred from Customs and Border Patrol to HHS, where the efforts are made to release them to a sponsor. As I said, it's a parent, a relative, or often in the country illegally as well, which a criminal. They are a criminal because they're in the country illegally. So the New York Times in this piece detailed a rise in child exploitation, which we talked about, where the children are now being forced into child labor. And sometimes it's to pay back the smugglers. But see, the catch is you never pay them back because they take out of that pay your food, your rent, your clothing. They take all of that out. So you never, ever, ever catch up. It's like just paying off the interest on your credit card. You'll never catch up.
Right. Never catch up. Yep.
It's led to concerns that by transporting children to sponsors, the U.S. is contributing to child labor trafficking. We've been talking about this for how many years now? And children being sold into sex slavery in this country. The largest sex slavery ring is being run by the United States government because we are busing and flying these children and women all over the country.
I'll tell you how far.
The property of the cartels.
There was a Miami Vice episode about it. Think about how far we're going back. Talking about in the modern, like in a cultural way, in a way we're talking 1984. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it could have been a problem before that, but I'm saying, like, I mean, I happen to watch that show, and I know it's from the early 80s, just to think, like, they had an episode talking about this exact thing. So.
The New York
Long time.
Times the New York Times actually talks about how officials are reportedly ignoring signs of explosive growth in the child labor force and how they scrambled to clear shelters because the shelters were at capacity. And that's what we talked about because Trump was holding them, right? And saying, no, we want to make sure that these kids go to where they're really going to. Remember, he's separating families. Well, a lot of people were just grabbing a kid and walking across the border with the kid saying, this is my kid, because they knew that they could get in if they had a child with them. And that wasn't their child at all.
Right.
And so the Trump administration was like, well, we want to make sure they're really related. So we're separating the kids from the older ones. So the kids will tell us if it really is their father or really is their mother. We're keeping them separate in order to do that. But that was a terrible, horrible thing. And Democrats screamed and cried about it for 4 years. And now we're going to ignore what the result of that is. In this letter, they say it is the responsibility of HHS to properly vet the people these children are being released to and protect them from being exploited. Yet it has been reported that caseworkers feel rushed to move children out of government custody quickly and are not fully vetting the people to whom the children are released, thus putting these minors in dangerous environment. It's true. It seems simple to me.
It does seem simple, right? Protect.
Yeah. Let's see.
Control it, and
They said we are particularly heartbroken to read reports of children contacting HHS after they're released to their sponsors in the hope of the agency intervening, and there's no follow-up from the government. So these kids are calling the HHS saying, "Okay, this is the number you gave me to call," and these are the ones who are old enough to do it, going, help me here, and nothing.
Yeah.
Now they know how. Welcome to America, because if you're looking at the government to solve a problem, you're going to be on hold for a really long time.
Yeah, the cartels are a good time.
Wait, what?
I said the cartels. They're a good time right now, aren't they?
Cartels, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've made them very powerful.
They are very powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, they stand up to the Mexican military.
Oh yeah. They stand up to our military,
I mean,
because our military, Joe Biden's sending the military to the border, but they're just there to process papers. That's all they're there for, to process these people faster. Get them in faster. Bring them in. The Babylon Bee had a piece that he was sending them, 1,500 troops or however many troops he's sending to the border to register Democrat voters. It's pretty true.
I think they have some intelligence people mixed in there. I think a few. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm sure there's some there. They always are.
I doubt it.
They always are.
They're also in this letter, the 76 Republicans are asking Mayorkas and Becerra, how many children have been released to sponsors who are not their parents, and how many sponsors are not related to the child by blood, and how many processes, and they're also asking about processes about interagency communications and the checks for placing minors with sponsors. Like you're checking on them, and that's the problem. They go to check on them, they can't find them. They're gone.
Right.
So who knows where these kids are? They could have been sold. God only knows where they are.
Right. I mean, it could also run. I mean, any number of things.
Congratulations.
But we've done. Yeah, it's good accounting.
It's sad. It's when you come down to it, it's just absolutely criminal what is happening, and there's nothing in the media about it.
And what bureaucracy would handle, and as you think about trying to track these children, like what infrastructure do they have set up to track that many children? Like it's an impossible number of people to try and keep a hold of. Think of how many people it takes to keep track of 85,000 people.
Well, try to keep track of what we're on record to bring in 2 million illegals that we know of a year.
Right. How big is
how are you going to keep track of them?
Right. And how big is the infrastructure of people who are assigned to take care of that problem? Right. Like, I'm sure it's not an appropriate number. I don't have one. If you know one, let me know. But I'm sure there's not nearly enough people for the amount that are coming in.
Right. Yeah. Scott said they just had an incident where he is 200,000 McDonald's for kids. I don't know what that means. But anyway, an incident with kids 10 years old making French fries and a 14-year-old working there as well. Here's the thing. In some states, 14-year-olds can work with their parents' permission. Right. So that depends on the state. But then again, hey, according to liberals, if your kid is 10 years old and decides that they don't want to be a girl and they want puberty blockers and the parents say it's okay, we should go for it. So why is it okay for that but not for work? And teach the kids some good values. Kid can learn early on what it's like to make a dollar.
Yeah.
I'm becoming a liberal. See? Look at that.
Look at you.
Look at
We're a libertarian.
I just think that some parents don't necessarily make the best choices, and so maybe we need to have some curbs on it. I'm a big fan of like, if your parents, like, you can't do this anymore, but when I was a kid growing up, if your parents wanted to allow you to have a glass of wine or a glass of beer or something like that, you could do that in your home. Now that's illegal. Yeah. Like, you can't do that now. And I think that's wrong. My dad's German. So we always had like a little jelly jar, like literally like the little thing like this with beer in it.
Yeah, kids drinking light beer in Germany is not a thing.
Not a thing at all.
They're not worried about that. They're not looking at kids drinking 3%, 4-ounce pouring of a 4% beer.
I can remember being a kid and my German grandfather, taking me, I had to be like 4 years old, taking me to the bar down the street in Jersey City. Walked down there, I sat on a stool, and they would give me a little glass with beer in it.
I used to go to gigs with my parents.
4 years old at a bar in Jersey City.
Yeah. Think of how the optics of that are now. My parents used to take me to gigs. I would sit in like a restaurant that had a restaurant bar area, and I would just sit at a table, and all the waitresses would fawn over me. My parents would be on stage at a gig. Nobody cared. Nobody was like, this minor is here at a late night event. Nobody cared. Maybe my parents could afford to sit at that week. I don't know. But whatever the reason was, I ended up at gigs. And again, nobody offered me cocaine. Nothing horrific happened. I sat there and wrote on a thing, or,
right.
So dumb.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Okay. So let's talk about the Supreme Court. So the left is apoplectic because the Supreme Court doesn't rule the way they want them to rule. So therefore they want a court pack, right? So because if they can't, they're very, very upset because they want to own all branches of government. And the one thing they really, really, really don't own right now is the Supreme Court. So they're doing what?
What's a court pack?
Oh, so they want to pack the court. So what they do is they
expand I think you meant like some kind of. Okay, I got you now. Okay.
Right. So instead of 9 seats, they want 12, and they want Biden to be able to add 3 more seats, and they'll be all liberals. And then look at the rulings they want, and then it's okay.
Right. I've heard it a million times. Then won't the next group just come in, the Republicans come in, and add 3 more of their own? And anyway, look, we could do this ad nauseum. Just it'll never. Right. It's ridiculous.
So they're big on court packing because they can't get their way. So they've been going after Clarence Thomas because they're racists since the day he sat down in the court. They're all going after the black guy. Why are they going after the black guy? Because they're racist. Wow. There's the only reason I can think, like, if it were, they're all white people going after the black justice, right? The first he wasn't the first black man on the Supreme Court, but was he the first? No, they're good.
No, hold on. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Hold on. I have a name in my head, but I want to make sure I'm wrong. First. Oh my gosh, you must be listening to me. I was right. Okay, it was Thurgood Marshall. I was going to say Thurgood Marshall, and it was Thurgood Marshall. Okay, I feel better. Okay, I feel better. But they go after him, right? Like they want to destroy him because he is a black man. Because like Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black, right?
Yeah.
So
that might have been wildly racist.
But he still got elected.
Yeah. Well, and
black people still voted for him.
He said a bunch of crazy stuff over the years.
Oh my God, he said, but this was during the campaign. He said this.
Oh, I know.
He didn't want his kids in an integrated school because it would be what did he call it? A jungle. He didn't want to go to his kids to go to school in a racial jungle. He got away with that too because he's on the right. He's got the right letter after his name, so he gets a free pass. But Clarence Thomas is unfortunately not a Democrat, and because he's not a Democrat, they do nothing but go after him. And they're going after him because all these things are starting to leak about him. Now you're starting to see things leak about other justices too, about this one didn't declare this and this one didn't declare that. So someone is leaking their private finances, which of course is illegal, but it's happening, but it's okay because it's happening to Republicans. And so they just won't be able to find the person who did it, just like they couldn't find the person who leaked the Dobbs decision. They can't find the person who planted the bombs on January 5th, and on and on and on, because you don't find what you're not looking for. Well, somebody leaked out something about Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Okay, one on the left now.
So Democrats may not be too concerned about all that. I dropped it. That whole judicial ethics stuff anymore. That may suddenly go by the wayside. Either that, or Republicans will be racist and misogynist because she's a Hispanic woman. So see how this goes. Or it just dies. This story goes nowhere. This is from the Daily Wire. She did not recuse herself from multiple copyright infringement cases involving the book publisher Penguin Random House and their subsidiaries.
Okay.
Despite having been paid millions by the firm for her books, making it her largest source of income. So she ruled in several cases in which the people who pay her largest source of income, and they won.
Huh. That's kind of like my car when it died. And Pep Boy said it was a coincidental catastrophic engine failure. Maybe that was just a coincidental case that ended up in front of her that she didn't realize that was the people paying her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we want to clean house ethically, I'm cool with that. I love that Matt Gaetz and AOC are on the same page and think that Congress shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks. That's it.
Right.
You shouldn't be allowed to, and neither should your spouses. And you know what? Then people won't want to be in Congress for as long as they're in Congress. Right. Because we just found out a whole bunch of senators dumped stocks just before the latest bank crash. They dumped a bunch of stocks because they knew it was coming and they knew that the government was going to seize it. So they dumped a bunch of stock. That shouldn't be, and they get away with it because nobody does anything about it.
Yeah.
In 2010, Sotomayor got a $1.2 million book advance from Knopf Doubleday Group, which is part of Penguin House, or owned by Penguin House, part of the conglomerate. In 2012, she got 2 advance payments for a total of $1.9 million. So now we're up to a little bit over $3 million.
And by the way,
what?
Oh no, I was going to say too. If it is both of them, then fry both of them. And if this is just political witch hunt, it's so silly. Sorry, I'm sorry. Please read. I'm sorry.
No, but the reason I love this is because it's this is a knife that cuts both ways. But I guess they just figured nothing about the left would ever be leaked out, so it would be okay.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
In 2013, she voted in a decision for whether the court should hear a case against the publisher. And despite at the time, Stephen Breyer was a justice. He recused himself because he earned money from the publisher. So he recused himself from the case. She did not.
Right. She's like, I got this.
Right. Exactly.
I'm impartial. You guys won.
Well, listen, and maybe she was impartial in that case, but there is a reason why you can't. Look, my husband's on the planning board. If a neighbor, like the neighbors behind us, they needed a variance for when they were rebuilding their home after Sandy, he recused himself from the planning board because he has a vested interest. Their property, their backyards and our backyards meet, and they're very good friends. So
if you don't
he
have
recused himself.
Right. Why ask the ethical question when you could just not put yourself in the situation? Is exactly what they're talking about, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, she may not have lied and cheated. They may should have run, but that doesn't mean that she shouldn't have recused herself. Because how do you know?
And if they're going after Clarence Thomas for not recusing himself or not reporting gifts that he got from some guy, whatever, this is even where this. They're not even going after Clarence Thomas for not recusing himself. They're going after him for not reporting gifts that he got from this guy who he says is his friend. But remember, in New Jersey, Menendez went to court with Dr. Melgen, right? Mm-hmm. And flying on Melgen's private jet and all this other stuff. And there were allegations of underage girls, but who knows whatever. I don't even remember what happened. So I'm saying there were allegations. But it was a friend because he's just a friend. We're really good friends. This was just a gift, gifts between friends. He took me on his plane and he got away with it.
And maybe that's true. But again, putting yourself in the ethical situation is the problem, right? Maybe it's not. How do you fight that, right? And now you have this ethics dilemma. Was that true, or is he just getting away with what he wants to get away with?
Exactly.
It's such a horrible thing to put yourself in. It's dumb.
So in 2017, we're in 2017, Sotomayor began receiving payments every year from Penguin Random House, which continued annually through at least 2021, which was the most recent disclosure available, totaled more than $500,000. In all, she received $3.6 million from Penguin Random House or its subsidiaries.
How rich in politics. Ooh.
In October of 2019, a children's author petitioned the Supreme Court to hear her lawsuit against Penguin Random House. She alleges that the book publisher had copied her book by selling one that was nearly identical. On the same day that the petition was distributed to the justices, Sotomayor received a $10,586 check from the publisher. How do you think that went?
Sounds very ethical to me. I don't know.
February of 2020, the following February, a couple months later, the Supreme Court voted not to hear the case, denying the writ of certiorari, which means that the case would remain where it left off, with a circuit court that found in the publisher's favor. Sotomayor's next check came in May of that year. It was her largest ever, with $82,807. Now, when it comes to a certiorari, the justices don't tell you how each one voted. So we don't know how she voted on that. But it does note when they do or do not recuse, and she did not recuse herself from that. But Breyer did recuse himself again from that case. Breyer received only $340,000 during the same time period, when his wife, he wrote a book and so did his wife, but he only got $340,000. She got over $3 million.
Right. Now,
but he recused himself and she didn't.
When you said they don't know who the justices voted for, do you know the makeup? Do you know the number of votes? Like, it was 5-4. Do you know that, or they don't give you any?
I don't know. I don't know if they give you that. I don't know if they give you that. They just say, nope, we're not taking it. There you go. Back to the lower court. Off with you.
Yeah.
Bing.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my gosh! Look at the time. Holy Christmas. Okay. So this last one, I want to know what you guys think. So, jump in here. This whole thing with social media and with TikTok and everything, do we need the government to decide whether kids under the age of 13 should be able to use certain social media things, and how do you prove it? Because we're finding out that especially young girls are really, really affected by social media. They look at these pictures of these, filtered and this and that, and it's not reality. And it's really, you're seeing an increase in suicide with young people, especially young girls who are depressed, etc., because they're seeing, pictures of, this is, I don't know, and the bullying, the cyberbullying that happens with social media. I think it's all a bad thing, but there are two competing bills in Congress, and one bill puts the onus on the social, on like the parents, like the parents are the ones who have to make sure that their kids are, and the other one puts it on social media companies to make sure that the kids are of age, etc. Where are you on that?
So I'm more of this is an evolution thing. And first of all, the parents should have always had the responsibility. So the irresponsibility of parents to do this, I'm sure is a problem, right? And that's I can see then where the government has to step into the family and go, hey, your daughter's a wreck. You should have seen this, right? Rather than having the government say, we're going to tell you an arbitrary number that we've decided that you're not going to let your kids be on social media anymore. Right. I'm not a fan of that.
So here's my thing. I'm a big fan. You chose to be a parent, do your job. This idea that every time something bad happens, like it was my knee-jerk reaction with that guy, the Marine who took down the crazy guy in the subway, and the guy
Yeah,
died. And everybody's like, so now there's like these marches because now this guy's going to be a hero. He had 40 times he's been arrested, and they were looking for him because he punched a 67-year-old woman in the face on the subway and everything else, and he was
nice guy.
popping off on the subway, and somebody finally took him down. Now, the Marine did not mean to kill him. That wasn't premeditated. But there were other people. It wasn't just the Marine. There were other people who were involved in taking this guy down, right?
Right.
And, AOC's like, this man was crying out for food and he was unhoused and his government let him down. I'm like, why is it the government's job to meet all your needs? Why is it the government's job to make sure you have a house and to make sure you have mental health care and to make sure that you're taking your mental health drugs? You want to do that? Let's open up the sanitariums again and start filling them up. And let's start with the involuntary holds again, and off you go. And that's that. You can't have it both ways. You can't let these people walk the streets and expect them to show up to take their meds on a regular basis because they're not doing it.
Right.
Or they're out of their minds on meds that they're not supposed to be taking. So you can't have it both ways. So when it comes to like this thing with social media, you chose to have the children, parent them. I realize it's hard, and I know it's really hard with social media, with kids with phones and everything. So you take away their phone at night so they can't be on it at 2:00 in the morning when they shouldn't be on it at 2:00 in the morning. Right?
Yeah.
Look at their messages.
Absolutely.
Have their passwords. Do all that. And at night, instead of sitting down and watching TV, sit there and go through your kid's phone and look at the text messages and look at their social media and see if the kids are being bullied. See what's going on with them. Have a conversation with your kid.
Do you remember?
But I will say one thing about TikTok. TikTok is another story for me. TikTok is the Chinese government spying, and they're getting a lot of information about Americans. I just think TikTok is bad. I think TikTok needs to go. But other social media, it's going to be around. It's a part of life now. It's like TV. It's a part of life. So if you don't like what your child is consuming on TV, you don't put a TV in their room. I don't know. That seems like a simple way to handle that. If you don't like what your kid is doing on the computer, don't put a computer in their room. And not that my brothers and his wife were perfect parents, but they had one computer in the house. Well, they had theirs, but there was one in the family room.
Yeah.
And then when the kids needed them, they had more computers, but in the family room, in a public space where anybody could walk in and see what you were doing on the computer at any given time. At night, the girls turned their phones over. And they knew that my brother and my sister-in-law may go through their messages. Maybe they won't. May go through their social media. Maybe they won't. But they knew that it was there. They knew that they were looking over their shoulder at all times. And I'm sure they got away with things that my brother and sister-in-law have no clue they got away with. I'm sure. But they weren't ordering fentanyl off Snapchat.
That's what I think. The control back in you and I are a few years apart, but I mean, we even when I got my own regular landline in my parents' house, I never thought for a minute that if they wanted to pick up that phone and listen to my conversation, listen to the thing at the end of the voicemail, or go through my room and read my letters or whatever I had, they were going to do it. Now, I may not have liked it. I may have argued with them, but I always knew I was always fighting or hiding that from happening, right? As a kid, that's what you're trying to do. Find your ways to have your privacy. At the same time, your parents have the ability. So there was a little balance there, right?
Right.
Now,
of course.
Problem is, it's like, oh, well, if they're letting all these other kids do it, I guess we just let them do it. Look at my day, there was porn around, right? There was a magazine or somebody shared a movie.
Of course,
it all sort of existed and kind of went through kids on some level. But we didn't have access to a virtual porn store at our disposal every minute of the day on our phone if you don't do some parental way. I mean,
on your phone, it's in the classroom now. Well, it's in the school library.
You have your phone and it's unlocked that way. You have multiple, like porn YouTubes that they're just, if you think you have to control it.
Yeah, Jerry says holding a company responsible for their product or service being misused or abused is a very slippery slope. I agree. You choose to be a parent or you didn't, but be a damn parent. Yeah. Well, this is what they want to do. They want to sue Colt, or they want to sue gun manufacturer Armor Light for their products being misused. Well, then are we going to start suing? Are we going to start suing the U-Haul and all the other ones, Penske and the rest of
Hershey's.
them, who because people fill their truck up with bombs and park it under the World Trade Center? We're going to
Oh, I
start
think it
suing
would
them
be
for that.
you made your delicious candy bars that now gave me diabetes, right? I mean, right? I mean, hold people responsible. I mean, they didn't make these things so delicious.
Brian and Pete talk scripture. Hello, did I miss anything? Is this Pete? I don't think this is Pete. I don't know if this is Pete who sends me the topics. Is this Pete who sends me the topics? Because he has a different login usually. Huh. Interesting. Well, welcome if you're new, Brian and or Pete, whichever. So, and if you did miss anything, you can go back and watch it on YouTube as soon as we're done here, or you can download the audio on Spotify and or Apple. So there you go. And please like the podcast, subscribe to the channel. So here's the two bills. I have to do this because my sunglasses are too dark. So, and these are both bipartisan bills. So Marsha Blackburn and Richard Blumenthal are against the Protecting Kids on Social Media Act because that would ban children under the age of 13 from having social media accounts. Which, I don't know, I'm kind of not against that. I think social media for kids under the age of 13, I think social media for kids under the age of 16 is terrible. So I'm not necessarily against kids under the age of 13 having a social media account and against that. So they've introduced this alternative called the Kids Online Safety Act that will require social media platforms to perform an annual independent audit that assesses the risks to minors, their compliance with this legislation, and whether the platform is taking meaningful steps to prevent those harms. They were asked if they would seek to ban or condition the creation of social media accounts below specified ages, which is what's in the Protecting Kids on Social Media Act. And that's Tom Cotton and Bill Schatz. Now, here's where Blumenthal says, I have strong concerns about a bill that puts more of the burden on parents than on big tech. Our bill holds big tech accountable and puts the burden on the social media platforms, not making parents police the police for their kids. And I'm also concerned about age verification that would require collection of information, personal and private information about children. So, I don't know, making parents have to police their kids. Oh, well, that's part of being a parent. Like you said, that's part of it. Oh, Pete, I had to jump in here and be here for the end of an era. So, Pete, is that you? Is this Pete also this Pete? Or is this Pete different than this Pete?
We need answers.
We need answers. We do.
Story 4.
Too many Pete's.
Who is who?
And it's not the end of an era. It's just the end of the Thursday night podcast, which is moving to Tuesdays. We're combining the Tuesday and Thursday podcast into one on Tuesday nights, just because by Friday I'm tired. By Thursday I'm tired. And James also, his week gets crazy towards the weekend. So
Thursday's crazy.
Yeah. So there will be no more Thursday podcast after tonight. Just so you know, it will be on Tuesday, 7:15. Watch the same way, and it'll be everything combined: politics, lifestyle, whatever we feel like talking about, having a good time, pictures from various vacations, that kind of thing. That's what we're gonna do. Okay.
Check.
So Blumenthal says there's a huge danger of exploitation or abuse with an age verification system. He said that would require a national database held by the government, or that a gold mine of confidential private information to be handed over to big tech. And Marsha Blackburn says you can't support this Protecting Kids on Social Media bill because it would require a digital ID for teenagers. The parents have to approve there'd be a digital ID for teenagers. And then the collection of even more identification, government-issued IDs, things of that nature from children and their parents. She said it's a data breach waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I'm this Pete.
Yeah, this
okay,
belongs with the parents, not the government. I mean,
I agree.
I understand your thought of like them setting something because it is bad for a country. But in the end, it comes back to who am I to tell a parent if their kid can have a Facebook account? Maybe because they just want them to share pictures. So look, I don't know. I'm not that parent. I'm not even a parent, but I would really worry about, like they said, that information online, right? All that information you have to
Right.
collect about kids and tagging.
Right.
That same thing with those dumb, they wanted to put the license plate sticker in Jersey. Is it still around? Under a certain age, you have to put a sticker on your license plate.
Oh, yes.
Which
So people would know you
unidentifies
were a
teens.
student driver or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and you're a teen and stuff like
That
that.
didn't go
Come
anywhere.
on. Yeah.
Luckily, New Jersey has so many rules that we're just at the point where people are just selectively not paying attention. Just like this speed limit on the Parkway and the Turnpike, totally subjective.
Yeah.
No, cops are at this point are just like, all right, look, as long as you're not doing 95 in the left-hand lane, I'm okay with it. But they will fly by the left-hand lane to clear out the left-hand lane.
Yeah.
And they
flow
will
traffic.
pass people. They will fly by people doing 80.
Yeah.
Just fly right past you because they're just not enforcing that law. We have too
Right.
many of them. So that thing died. There was it's just another law. Nobody had time for this.
Yeah.
So
dumb.
so in the end though, I don't think I really like either bill.
No, they both have their problems.
Right. They both have their problems. I'm a big fan of parents parenting their kids. Parent your kid.
Yep.
That that's in one bill, but in the bill where you have to parent your kid, they also want a digital ID, which would require the parent's permission and everything else. To me, it's like cigarettes, right? And liquor. There's an age limit to get them. But if a kid really wants a cigarette at the age of 15, the 15-year-old kid's going to get a cigarette. It's up to the parents. My mother used to smell our clothes when we would come in at night. I was 18 years old, and my mother would meet me at the top. I swear to God, she's a ninja. She would meet me at the top of the stairs when I was 18 years old, totally legal to drink. And she'd go, I smell cigarettes. I'm like, I'm not smoking.
Yeah.
Like to see if I was smoking.
Weed's legal.
If she found matches, she wanted to know, why do you have matches? Because she thought you were smoking, that type of thing.
I'm 50 years old. Weed is legal, and I don't want to smell like a joint in front of my mother. I just don't.
Exactly.
I do not want to smell it on me. I just don't. I have that kind of respect for my parents. Like, we're all adults. I can do what I want. I still have a respect enough for my parents not to show up smelling like a Rastafarian garden.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
Right.
But your parents engendered that in you. And that's what I think that is the crux of all of this is. So we go back to this thing of like, oh, well, it's really hard. I can't keep my kid off social media. Like my kid bought pills. My kid thought he was buying, I don't know, whatever on Snapchat. And instead he got fentanyl and now my kid's dead. It's the government's fault. I don't know if it's the government's fault. I'm really sorry what's happening because it's terrible what's happening with these kids. My parents had the fear of God in me about drugs. Now, are there some kids who don't have that fear? 100%.
Right.
And it's got to be tough to parent that kid who doesn't have that fear. But that's why you don't have a computer in that. We didn't have a private phone line in my bedroom. There was one phone in the house. Well, there was one in my parents' room we had to ask permission to use. The other one was in the TV room. And we got the long extension cord so I could take it down into the basement steps and sit on the phone with the door closed if I wanted to talk to my parents to hear what I was saying. But that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
That was it. My parents were like, you don't have privacy. I'm sorry. If my father got really mad, he would take the door off your room and you had to earn it back.
And I don't want to, right. And I don't want to be mean. Like you mentioned drugs too, right? Like I don't want to be mean. You can be a parent, do it all right. And unfortunately, things could just go wrong for your child that made the bad choice, when they're not mature enough to do it. Even if you did everything right, it can happen, right? Like I don't want to, natural selection sounds so mean, but like it's just life. I mean, and there's things you can't stop every death, but you can stop, like, maybe do better about getting fentanyl in the country, right? That's the government's job. The parent's job is to try and keep you off the fentanyl. The government's job is to keep the fentanyl out.
That I agree with 100%. I absolutely agree that the government, because this country has been so flooded with fentanyl, it's you're never going to get rid of it. There's enough to kill, I think, every one of us 1,000 times over, and that's the Biden administration's fault. But this idea of the government has to meet you. If you don't have a house, the government has to provide a house for you. If you need mental health, the government has to provide that. If you need this, the government has to provide this. No. I just don't think it's the government's responsibility to solve all our problems. If they want to ban TikTok in this country, I think that that's okay, because if the Chinese are using it to spy on us and the Chinese are using it to find out what's going on inside our country and things like that,
Yeah, but
I'm
they're getting
okay
it.
with that. And you're like, oh, why does the Chinese care about
But
me?
they're all.
You'd
But they're
be
all selling our
amazed
data.
what information they can get from just from your little TikTok account. I think it's terrible. Get rid of it. I'm fine with that. I don't care if they're getting anything from you. They're spying on us. They're our enemies. So too bad, so sad. You know, there's a ton of other platforms out there. Have fun on those.
That are
That's
all
just me.
also selling your data. So I'm just saying.
Well, they
As
are,
we learn.
but you have to. Yeah, you also have to read what you're agreeing to. But if
Well,
TikTok is
TikTok
the
tells you.
source,
Did you ever
right?
see the agreement? It tells you, like, it keystrokes you, it leaves your mic on all the time. It's doing all these things in the
Yep.
agreement. Just read the agreement. It's fascinating when you read the agreement because nobody does. That's why
Have you?
South Park had the joke about the iTunes had a human centipede in the thing that they could call upon anytime because nobody reads those things. So, be part of a human centipede at their will. But yeah, like nobody reads those things ever. I don't know what Facebook says. I don't know what Twitter says. I don't know what any of them say. I know they say they're selling my data though.
See, I do read them,
Yeah.
which is why I do not have Facebook Messenger on my phone. Because when you install Facebook Messenger, you also give them access to your contacts and everything else. And then what they do is they go through your contacts and they match up your friends on Facebook with your contacts in your phone, and then they get all the information, phone numbers, etc., on your friends. So you're selling out all your friends. So thank you very much to all my friends with Facebook Messenger on their phone. Yippee. Appreciate it. But so I don't have Facebook Messenger because of that. You know, we never had. Have you noticed like the Alexa Siri thing has really kind of died down?
Yeah.
Because they stay on all the time, even though
Fine.
you think they're off and they're listening to everything you say.
Oh, I know my phone's listening to me. 100%. I know my phone is listening to me without a fail.
Do you have an iPhone or a Droid?
iPhone.
Yes, I have a Droid.
Yeah.
The amount of times I drop my phone, I need to have a Droid because
Right.
iPhones break so easily. Screens crack. They're terrible. I would be getting a new screen all the time because I do drop my phone with alarming regularity. So I'm glad I have a Droid, not an iPhone. And my phone doesn't have a lot of the same features of an iPhone, and I'm totally cool with that. But yeah.
Right.
So I don't like any of it. So there's just so much going on. And the last thing, I don't have a story on it, but did you see the whistleblower who came forward who said that when Joe Biden was vice president, that he was exchanging money for legislation? Did you see that?
No, I'm supposed to be shocked, but no, I didn't see it. I'll have to look that up.
Oh, you
Wow.
didn't see it? Oh, hold
Yeah, no,
on.
but I'm not shocked. No, I'm not even. I'm not even a little shocked.
Biden. Let's see if I was putting Grassley Biden.
I think if they wanted to, they could catch most of our politicians doing stuff like this at some point.
Yep. This person's a 10-year employee of the FBI. And they say that the FBI's had this case for years and has been sitting on it.
Right. Well,
which doesn't surprise me.
Here's the thing: if you think there's any form of shadow thing that's trying to run things, I bet they want Biden out soon now too, because now they could just waste him. He's 80.
Yep.
You know, he didn't do a great job, so they can burn him now so that he can't run.
Yep. Comer and Grassley talked to the whistleblower. They say the whistleblower has provided information about the alleged scheme, and they've issued a subpoena to FBI Director Christopher Wray demanding a document that they say contains information about the allegation. Now, this document that this whistleblower talks about is not classified. So if Joe Biden can classify it, which of course will then be the smoking gun that what's in there is true, right? In their letter to Ray and Merrick Garland, you know what? One thing that Mitch McConnell did, he kept Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court. That is the one good thing I have to give him credit for. He kept Merrick Garland off the Supreme Court. They said it had come to their attention that the DOJ and the FBI possess an unclassified FD 1023 form that describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then Vice President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. It has been alleged, and this is from CBS News. It has been alleged that the document includes a precise description of how the alleged criminal scheme was employed, as well as its purpose. The form is an unclassified internal document, and it is an FBI record of an interaction with a confidential human source. That's a spy. Confidential human source is a spy. That's a fancy word for spy. We now know this. So Ray has been ordered to produce all FD 1023 forms, including within any open, closed, or restricted access files. Blah, 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 blah. They say Comer and Grassley say in their letter they believe there's enough specificity in the allegation to determine whether it's true, but it remains unclear what steps, if any, were taken to investigate the matter. So now they want to know if it was even investigated. Ian Sams is the White House spokesperson for oversight and investigation, said, for going on 5 years now, Republicans in Congress have been lobbying unfounded, unproven, politically unmotivated attacks against the president and his family without offering evidence for their claims. Okay, I'm going to give you a laptop as Exhibit A for the claims. And that's it. So we're waiting to see. We're waiting to see what happens.
If you think Trump should answer for what happened in Georgia, you should definitely think Biden should answer for this. Don't make it DNR. I'm just saying, I mean, if you think there's enough and that somebody should answer for something, great. You should do it across the board.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You should.
Simply find the people doing these things. Doesn't matter what party they're in, and then make them answer for it. There are politicians. They work for us.
Yep.
The fact that they can get away with whatever they want should be scary to you.
They have until
that would be insane if you don't think so. We should know the answer to that question.
They have noon on Wednesday to produce any relevant documents, and they're not going to produce them. You know that they're going to stonewall. They're not going to produce anything, which, in my world, answers your question right there.
Mm-hmm.
So
you know the DOD hasn't passed an audit since 2013. I learned this little fact the other day. They're supposed to be audited every year.
We talked about that on this show. That the DOD hasn't. We talked about that here.
Yeah.
That they have not passed an audit. That like something they're only like 30% only 30% of their money they can account for. So like 36%. Yeah.
It's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad.
And they want more.
So much money. 150 billion. It's so much money. But I mean, shouldn't be about whether it's a Democrat or Republican. It should just be that's our money. Of course, because I mean, we're rational humans. People who own.
I agree.
Yeah, insane.
If you had a drunk uncle who he's the single father to your cousins, and he needs money, but he never has enough money, and the money you keep giving him, you say, well, where'd the money go? And he can't tell you where the money went. Would you keep giving him money?
Right, exactly.
Probably not. Somewhere along the line, you might want to say, I've been giving you lots of money. Where's it going?
Yeah. We did have a 20-year war that we didn't really win. That, I don't want to all military industrial complex at all. I'm just saying, I bet those companies made a lot of money, though.
Well, $10,000 for a toilet seat.
Yep.
And they don't care. Scott says, thanks for the valuable and interesting Android phone info, Mary. Yeah, I love my Droid. I'm very happy with my Droid. The only problem with the Android is that the iPhone doesn't play well with it because they try to force you to get an iPhone. So when someone with an iPhone texts me, every so many words it comes through as a separate text, and it goes ding, 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 ding every time. And every time someone who has an iPhone likes a comment or emphasizes a comment, because you can do whatever that is to comments, it comes through as a separate text on my phone.
And let's say, exclamation point comment. Yeah.
Right. So no, it comes through and say James liked blah 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 blah, and then the comment, or loved blah 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 the comment, or exclamation, and I'm like, so I have some threads that are like 13 people on them, and they all have iPhones. So I just mute it. Because I just can't with the constant ding ding ding. Oh, by the way, I'm still wearing them.
No. How are they still alive?
I had to put another piece of cardboard in the box.
Yes, that'll do it.
Wait, but I have to be careful because this piece here every now and flips up and I'm gonna kill myself. But they're still going. I tried later ones, but I was too cold today. I had to go back to them, and this one started to go. So I felt so guilty throwing out just one slipper, but when this one got a hole in it too, I started to feel a little bit better. So now I
Yeah.
don't feel so guilty. But I took out a pair that aren't as warm as these today, and it was cold. It wasn't supposed to rain today. It rained all day today. I made
Yeah,
a
it was nasty.
fire. I was cold, so I had to break out the warmer slippers because I was freezing. So I just thought I would let you know that they're still hanging in there.
Unbelievable. They're still there. Wow.
And
Cardboard and all.
my husband's like, oh, you should get a pair of the My Pillow ones. They're selling the My Pillow slippers because those things are nice, like those moccasin things. And
I've
then
seen
even with the discount, they're $50. I'm like, they're
Ooh.
$50. He's like, think of the money you saved by walking around with cardboard in the bottom of your slippers.
That's smart. He's a very practical guy too. That makes a lot of sense. That tracks. Yeah.
He's like, buy the $50 slippers.
You'll really get your money. You'll get $50 out of them.
Oh, I will, because I'm good at cutting
Absolutely.
cardboard to fit inside my slippers.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, hold on. We got a comment here. We'll get this. We need to start a GoFundMe for you.
Mary Walter, she needs slippers.
I
Donate.
just didn't want to I didn't want to throw them out because the right one was falling apart, but the left one was still good. So I felt really guilty about throwing them out. So I've gone through. This is probably piece 3 and 4 of cardboard that I've used because you got to double layer them. In my
Wow. That's a
I don't
real
have a
effort.
job anymore. I don't have a full-time job.
You're determined. You're like, I'm keeping them. No, I just need more cardboard.
I do, instead of burning. We don't recycle. We burn all our cardboard and everything all winter.
Right.
So that's how we heat the house with all of our recycling. We burn it with the wood and everything.
It's a good starter, right? That cardboard really gets a good log going. Yeah, yeah.
Well, newspaper's the best. Newspaper
Yeah,
is
of course,
definitely the
absolutely.
best. Yeah.
Let's
So
take a little cardboard layer. I did a little cardboard layer, some newspaper, the log.
yep. So I make a fire pretty much every day here. Like I said, the
best.
neighbors are always like, that poor lady.
It's cathartic,
outside.
isn't it?
No, it's warm because
But
otherwise
I like
the house
setting
is
a fire.
cold.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of cathartic. You know, you get warm and there's a whole little process to it.
Yeah, we
I had one for a while. Yeah.
So I did that anyway. Okay, so programming note, Monday and Tuesday, as of right now, I don't know if it's confirmed or not. I haven't heard anything, but I'm assuming that it is, that I will be joining WPHT, the morning show, Monday and Tuesday, which starts at 6 a.m. Lord, I'm too old for this. So Monday and it is Monday, Tuesday, PHT, 12:10 a.m. in Philadelphia on Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday. Oh, when we're taping Wendy Bell, so I'll be on Wendy Bell next Saturday, but I'll tell you about that on Tuesday. So
yes,
so that's that. Oh, and Monday is also the Chris Salcedo show. Between his shows on between 4 and 5 on Newsmax TV. So busy day for Mary on Monday, and then Tuesday night is the Mary Walter Radio. Moves to Tuesdays, 7:15. Watch on Getter and YouTube, just like you did now. All right, and don't forget, you can download the audio on Apple and Spotify. Mike over on Getter says, especially burning the LA Times. so here, for whatever reason, the New York Times will just like throw the newspaper in your driveway for like a week. And that's what I use. And the ShopRite circulars, I use those.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, the ShopRite circulars are good. And the Boscov circular is good.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a new supermarket, Uncle Giuseppe's.
Oh.
It's a big Italian and it's an actual supermarket. So
it has all these Italian delicacies. Oh,
we have a couple of those because we have Pastosa's, which is from Brooklyn, and they're just Italian, like a special, but they're not a supermarket. Whereas Uncle Giuseppe's is an outright supermarket, but they carry a lot of Italian brands. It's kind of like Aldi, but with Italian stuff.
Nice. Neat.
So we've got Aldi and Lidl if you want the German stuff, but Lidl carries a lot of Italian stuff too. And now we got Uncle Giuseppe's, which also carries it's like an Italian grocery store. That's one of the things. You move out of this area, you don't get any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You get Whole Foods and
Right.
Wegmans and Food and Giant or Publix or whatever. You don't get like the really good ethnic stuff.
Yeah, your best pizza is Domino's.
Oh, yeah.
I was in a town in Pennsylvania once, like 80 miles outside of Philly.
Ooh, yeah.
And the in-town pizza was this. I mean, I've heard of a sweet sauce, but this doesn't. I mean, it's like somebody poured grape jelly in sauce, like just a pound of grape jelly. It was that weird. And the cheese was odd. You know, it was like cheddar and provolone and mozzarella. And it was really weird. And then there was a Domino's. So the next day we ate the Domino's because it was the closest to real pizza you could get in that area. I'm like,
why didn't you actually have a meal as opposed to pizza 2 nights in a row?
You know, it's a good late night thing. You know, it was after gigs. Yeah, we were young.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Scott says goodbye. Have a great evening. Enjoy the show. We enjoyed having you. We enjoyed doing this. And again, don't forget, Monday is Chris Salcedo's show between 4:30 and 5. And then Monday and Tuesday is that's you. I thought that was something here. Monday and Tuesday, 12:10 PHT from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday night will be Mary Walter Radio. We'll be there. So thank you so much, James. Have a fantastic weekend. And
yes, you too.
I will see you soon. Bye.